this week. We are in the 18th Parsha from the beginning of Bereshit. 18th is Chai. Parshat Mishpatim is obviously, the whole idea of Mishpatim is the idea of Torat Chaim. The Torah that teaches us life. This is a Parsha which has a tremendous amount of mitzvot, a lot of commandments. You imagine last week we received the Torah, so this week everybody is ready to accept and to listen. So the Torah takes advantage on the opportunity and spends this week's Parsha, Parshat Mishpatim, with many commandments. There are 53 mitzvot in this Parsha. 53 in Hebrew makes up the word gan, garden. That's how we create a garden for God by following his mitzvot. 42 of the 53 commandments are actually mitzvot which are falling in the category of ben adam lachavero. Basically, in mitzvot, there's two types of mitzvot, two categories of mitzvot. One is called ben adam lamakom, between a person and God, like eating kosher, keeping Shabbos. It's between us and God. It's called religious commandments. Then there is mitzvot, which their topic, their theme is bein adam lechavero, between a person and his colleague. Don't hurt someone, don't injure him, don't speak lashon hara against him, take care of the needy and the poor and the orphans and the widows. This is all in the category of adam lechavero. So in the Torah there is a big chunk of mitzvot which are relating with what you owe God, and there's yet another big chunk of mitzvot what God wants from you in regard to your fellow man. And in this week's Parsha alone, 42 of the 53 commandments is mitzvot which deal with Adam lechaviro. There is a few mitzvot talks about non-kosher food, milk and meat, but the biggest chunk of commandments is what happens when you are treating somebody disrespectfully, physically, mentally, and so on. All of it in this parsha called Mishpatim. Starts up with the first word is ve'ele mishpatim. It's actually easy to remember that there are 42 such mitzvot. In the Balaturim says that ve'ele, the word in Hebrew, ve'ele, the numerical value of the word ve'ele, vav is 6, aleph is 1, it's 7, lamed is 30, is 37, hey is 5, so 37 plus 5 is 42, ve'ele hamishpatim. There are 42 commandments which are the mishpatim, the laws, the statutes which are between Adam lechavero. So there's many mitzvot. One of the central mitzvot in this week's parsha is a beautiful mitzvah, which, as I always say, is one of the leading institutions of a Jewish community even. Here in Seattle, the oldest institution is called the Hebrew Free Loan Association. You can imagine people who immigrated from Europe, from different countries, needed assistance in starting up life. And where do you turn? You turn to a loan. And who is giving you a loan when you have no money to pay interest? That's what the Torah speaks in this week's parsha, a free loan. A free loan means a loan without charging interest. I can tell you personally, when I moved to Seattle with my wife, I had to buy a car, and my car was over $2,000. And the money for my car, I borrowed from the Hebrew Free Loan of Seattle, and I paid $100 a month back. The guarantor was Rabbi Chaskel Kornfeld, and if they trusted him, they trusted me, and together that's how I got my first car. Okay, so I took advantage of this organization, which is still alive till today. You can look it up. This organization, which I'm not sure what's their procedures, their program, but I still get an email from them once a year, usually around this time of the year, that they review their program, and it's a very nice. I don't know if it's even associated with one of the synagogues. I think it's like a separate board unrelated to the particular synagogues in Seward Park. Hebrew Free Loan. Are you familiar with Hebrew Free Loan?
No.
You never heard about it even?
Oh, I've heard about it from you, yeah.
Oh, only for me? Okay, it
Yeah.
shows you David Schneider never needed a loan. You should never need a loan, David.
Amen.
But if you need, I will try to help you. I have the contacts. I have the number for Hebrew free loan.
Amen.
Okay, so it's a concept which goes around today. It's expanded in Jewish communities all over the world, especially in religious communities, where there's always need for, and the loans is not anymore about money anymore. Sometimes it's about medicine. You ran out of your medicine. And it's Shabbat, it's a holiday. You can go to the pharmacy. There is a gmach which has samples of different medicines. You go over and you borrow, and then you give them back the blood pressure pills, whatever it's called, that you needed for the 3 days that you were running out.
I remember you telling a story about when you were loaning lunches or something.
That's a separate story, yeah. It's money for lunches, but I will tell you a better story about sassifier. You know what sassifier is? The baby steak.
Pacifier.
Oh.
Yeah,
A pacifier.
Yeah, your wife said that she had to get.
So I was in Jerusalem, arrived with my baby, and we come down into the house. My parents and my little baby lost his pacifier.
Oh.
Anybody remembers having a baby losing a pacifier knows that this is one of the biggest tragedies you can ever imagine. To be a night without all stores are closed. In Jerusalem, where we lived, there was no Fred Meyers or PFCs, which are open 24/7. There is no pacifier. You're stuck all night.
How about Walmart?
We went over. Somebody remembered that down the street, there's a family which actually you can knock on the door, and that's their free loan organization that they lend out pacifiers for those families who lose, and you can go over and borrow a pacifier, and eventually you pay back with a pacifier. Diapers, you're running out of diapers. A lot of different things. So this is this big Parsha Mishpatim. Let's turn to one of the 52 commandments which I mentioned earlier. Turn to please chapter 22, 24. This is the mitzvah that we are going to discuss tonight. Okay? You find it in the Chumashim, it's on page 468 in the Hebrew, 69 in the English. So verse 24 reads as follows. Im kesef talve tami. Literally the word im means if. Or here it translates when. Kesef talve tami. You lend money to my people. Et ani moch. The poor person which is with you. Who is with you. Lo tielo kenoshe. You should not be towards them as a noshe. What's the noshe mean? Don't behave as a lender. What do you mean? I just lended you money. So, so don't be as a lender.
You don't like that to be returned?
No. If you don't expect to be returned, then it's not a loan, then it's charity. So then it's not a loan. So the Torah says what it means is lot asimun olav neshech. You should not place interest payments upon him. So this is the clear, important verse in the Torah, which discusses and introduces a concept which is going to be discussed later in the Torah again. There is an important mitzvah of lending someone money, and the loan should be without interest. That's called in English free loan. No interest. Not only is there no interest, but the Torah says more and further restrictions in regarding the loans. Restrictions on the lender. Verse 25. Im chavol tachboil salmaz reyecho. If for the loan you take from your friend, which means the guy who borrowed the money from you, so you take as a security, you take his garment. Then, ad bo hashemesh teshivenu loy. You must return it to him for the entire day until sunset. Until sunset. Ad bo hashemesh, until the sun set, teshivenu lo, then you should return it to him. Meaning, while the sun sets, you make sure to return to him. I think that's the way Rashi explained it. Why? Ki ik susay levadoy, isim losay leoiroi. You must also return his night garment by night, for this is the only covering that he has. And this garment for the skin. Bamei ishkov. What should he sleep with? Can't take away his pajamas. He needs to sleep with. So if he needs a suit and jacket to go to work, you make sure to give it back to him during the day. If you took away his pillow, his blanket, you must give it back to him at night. What kind of security is it that the borrower keeps on benefiting from the materials as needed? But that's what the Torah makes sure, that there is a special respect given to the borrower, and to the point that the Torah says that you have to make sure that you are caring for him, you are respecting him. It's like a whole treatment, it's like you get a not only you gave him a loan, you're becoming his caregiver, right? And the Torah gets in a little emotional also, playing on our emotions. Usually the law is the law. Here it says, well, when is he going to sleep? Ayaki takilai. And the guy is going to cry out to me. I'm going to have to listen. Veshamati ki chanunani. I'm a compassionate God. I'm going to have to hear him. And then I'm going to have to get you into trouble for keeping another person, letting him suffer. That's the core of this mitzvah. A very big question that everybody is asking, but we're going to go in the direction of the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, the Chaim ben Attar, the famous Moroccan sage, who is asking a very, very simple question in the reading of the verse. Number one, he says, what is the meaning when it says, Im kesef talveh tami? If you will lend money, im means if. So we'll say, what does it mean if? Do I have to lend money to someone or not? Is it a mitzvah for me? Is it an obligation of me? The Torah should say, lend money to someone and don't charge him interest. If indicates that it's optional. To the point that Rashi brings from the Gemara, there are 3 places that the Torah uses the word im, and Rashi points out, don't consider it reshut. Don't consider it that if means I can, or I decide not to, or then I don't have to. The word im, even though it's written with that term if, but it's not an option. You have to provide a loan. So the Or Chaim asks, why does it say im? If you have to, then you have to. So simply I would answer and say, sometimes you don't have to. Tefillin I have to put on every day. Obligation. But to give a loan, if no one is asking me for a loan, to have a mitzvah to go every day to find someone to give him a loan, perhaps not. Maybe that's why it says im. If somebody comes to you and he needs a loan, or let's say even more, if you know somebody is not paying you back, he established a record, he's not paying back his loans. You have a mitzvah to give it to him? No. You're putting your money, you want to give him a gift, give it a gift. You want to call it tzedakah, call it tzedakah. But it's not a loan. A loan has to be given expecting to be returned. That's the nature of loaning, is that you keep on circling it. If it ends up by a person and you're never seeing it back, so then I can't give loans anymore. But the Or Chaim HaKadosh says, still, after all, the term im is not usual for a Torah obligation. There are other situations in Torah that the Torah wants you to do something, and it can end up being that you're not going to do it for whatever conditions. And yet, we don't use the word im, if. Number two, it says, im kesef talveh et ami. If you're going to lend money to my people, am I lending the people or am I lending the individual? It's not a loan to the nation of Israel. It's a loan to an individual Jew is in need for a loan. Nachon? That's what the loan is. In that case, the Torah should have said, im kesef talveh, if you lend money to someone. What is the concept of im kesef talveh et ami? You're going to lend money to my nation. The nation is not, there are nations that are looking for loans too. And I'm sure Israel is one of those nations. But that's not the loan that we're talking about. We're talking about an individual loan, one person to another. And thirdly, here comes the point that the Or Chaim makes, is that the Torah says, et ani, the poor person, imach, who is with you. What is the indication? What is the emphasis? Is with you. And it comes with a famous approach. I'm sure that you heard it through the years. Famous Or Chaim HaKadosh. The Alshich also says that many of the classic commentators say the same term, that the poor person with you is not describing who the person is, but rather it's the description where the money is. Account. The Or Chaim HaKadosh says, what is this whole concept of loans? If somebody doesn't have money, why should you be obligated to lend them? First of all, if he doesn't have money, maybe that's what God expects from him, not to have money. He has some issue with them. And God decided, you know what, this person should not have money. Now you're interfering in God's directions. God does not want him to have money, and you decide to give him money. You're messing up the plan. God wants him to get a little kvetched, to get a little bothered, maybe. So if he's not going to have money, then he might be improve his behavior. I don't know what God's plan is. What are you mixing in? No, you're giving him a loan. Says the Or Chaim HaKadosh, because the whole approach is that God provides for everybody. There is an assignment for each and every person, man or woman. Everybody has exactly what they need. God does not send us into this world and leaving us vulnerable without having for where and how to support ourselves. So it's all arranged. The only difference is sometimes your money is in his pocket. The money in your pocket is his money. So when somebody approaches you, they need a loan, you have to look at it and you say, if I have money to lend, it means I have more than I need. Why do I have more money than I need? If God is providing for everybody according to his livelihood, so why do I have a savings? I have to pay my bills. Thank God I have to pay this month. I'm going to have to pay next month, and hopefully I will pay in 3 months. Trust in Hashem. I'm going to continue going to work, make a living. Why am I making more? Got a good hefty check. I got a good offer. I can put aside money. What is this putting aside money coming from? You know what Or Chaim HaKadosh says? If you have money put aside, it must be that God trusts you with somebody else's money. And he keeps it by you as a safekeeping, as a deposit. And now comes your challenge. Am I going to look at it as an opportunity to help someone? Or I'm going to be greedy and say, I'm smart. God really likes me. He gave me more than I need. Why? Because he loves me, so he gives me a lot. Somebody is knocking on your door and he needs help. That's not my deal. That probably is an issue with God. God doesn't want to give him. He gave me. I'm an awesome individual. The fact that you have money extra, that means that God trusts you with somebody else's belongings. Says the Orach Chaim Kadosh. Let's read the verse together now. Im kesef. If you have money, more than what you need, talve tami, make sure that you lend it out to my people. Why? Et ani, the portion that belongs to the poor person, imach, is with you. Not the poor person is with you. If your neighbor and therefore you have to help him, like the translated here. The poor person is with you because the poor person's money is by you. His bread is by you bread. That's what the approach to Alon is. The Dorcha, the Alshich puts a twist to it. The Alshich HaKadosh, the Moshe Alshich, the great Kabbalist, in his book over here, the Torah Moshe, he has a little twist to it. He actually establishes the same idea, but from an halachic perspective. In Jewish law, there's the following law. If a father has a number of sons, and he left a will, and the will says that all my money goes to one son, what do? It says Jewish law, in the Talmud, and the Rambam qualifies it in the Jewish law, we, the Jewish court, must assume that the father meant, what he meant when he left the money for one son, is to make his son in charge of distributing the money to everybody else. There was a way of securing every other child, because which father will leave his money only to one child and leave the others out? So the fact that he wrote it only to one, it must be that he appointed them as aputrupus, it's called. He meant them to be the distributor, the caregiver, the one, the trustee, to contribute and to divide the money equally and properly to the others, especially if there are younger children. Maybe their children have some big holes in their hands, and the father was worried, if I'm going to give them the money, they're going to spend it in vain. So he took the child, which might not be the oldest, might not be the youngest, it might be the one that the father sees. He has the sense, and he has the ability to carry the family through the time period after I dead, and that's why he assigned him all the money. So what does Jewish law says? That that's how you look at children. The father does not get the kids out of the loan, out of the will. Yes, he did not write their name because he wants one person to be in charge. Says the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, we are children to God. As the verse says in Parshas Rei, Banim atem Hashem Elokechem. So every child is being provided. You see somebody else has much more than I? He was a trustee.
What if that one person needs more?
Here comes the issue. The issue comes, number one, here's the two challenges that each person goes through. Hashem tests everyone. There is the test of poverty and then the test of richness. The rich person needs challenges to see, is he able to look on the fact that he has a lot of money, that God trusts him to become a support to others, or he chooses to keep it all for himself. This is his challenge. And the poor person also has a challenge. Is he going to get angry on God and say, you don't care about me? Or he's going to say, you know what? I think God knows what he's doing. If I will keep my own money, I might forget about him completely. He wants me to remember him, so he made sure that I have to go and be relying on kindness. I don't know what this cheshbon is. He keeps his emunah. He keeps his faith to God. This is my job. You don't mix. Is it okay to tell God, listen, God, I would rather be from the lenders, not from the borrowers? Pajalasta, go for it. Maybe if you're going to ask him nicely, he might decide to make you one of the lenders. This is already his choice. And it's okay. I'm telling you now, if you ask me as a rabbi, is it kosher to ask God, I would rather be on the side of the givers than the receivers? 100% kosher. I don't have to be the receiving. But at the same time, if you end up to be a receiver, don't look at it that God forsaked you. This is your challenge. Are you able to keep your head above the water and say, I'm sure He's going to provide me. I got to find the person who's going to help me with the loan, with the gift, and I'm still going to be able to stand on my own feet. But by the way, giving a loan to somebody else, you mentioned before charity. Maimonides has a section of law called the laws of the gifts to the poor, which it goes through all the different agricultural giving. In the Torah, there's this year and that year in the sabbatical year. And then he comes and he summarizes. There is 8 levels to charity. You ever read it? Beautiful chapter of Rambam. You know what I'm talking about. The 8 levels of charity. And he says, what is the highest? He says. He calls it Amala she'en lemala imena. There is no greater charity than that. You know what it is? Give somebody a loan. You think that charity? Charity would be if I give somebody away something from me. The Rambam says no. You give him a loan, you give him an opportunity to stand on his own feet. People don't want to remain recipients. They want to be able to take care of themselves. But they just arrived in the country. They just got married. They need someone to start them up. Can I buy a house without a loan? Today, even with a loan, you can't buy a house. But can you start somewhere? Can you go to school without a student loan? No politics, please. So what's the idea? That's exactly that. That's why the free loan is so important. And I will tell you a couple stories. A free loan, we came late. Next time, come earlier to class.
Sorry.
A free loan is a loan without charging interest. It's okay. Don't have to say sorry.
Bank of America won't give you.
No banks.
They don't give you even meat interest these days.
That's true also.
I will tell you a few stories. It's Thursday night. It's already getting into the Shabbat. I will tell you a few stories. Let's start with a local story. You know Rabbi Yarmush Avremi from Bellingham. He had a grandmother, an American, born in America, born and made and raised in the USA. And the Rebbe spoke about here by a Farbrengen in public. 1964. 1964, it's recorded. You see the black books over there. 4 Scholz. This is the Rebbe's Farbrengens from 1951. It's only holding by 1970. This is the first 20 years of the Rebbe's Farbrengen. 1964, there's a Farbrengen there, and the 20th of Av. 20th of Av is the day of the passing anniversary of the Rebbe's father, Rabbi Yitzchak Schneerson, who passed away in exile in Kazakhstan, where he was sent by the Russians after serving as rabbi of the Dnipropetrovsk in Ukraine. Rabbi Yitzchak Schneerson, the Rebbe's father. And the Rebbe used to Farbrengen every single year, the 20th of Av, the Farbrengen in honor of his father, Rabbi Levi. My son Levi is named after the Rebbe's father, Levi Yitzchak. There's a lot of Levi Yitzchaks in Lubavitch. And the Rebbe Farbrengen said, I wanted to do something in honor of my father. Every year the Rebbe did something in honor of his father. That's another Jewish way of honoring parents, even after they died. And the Rebbe said, I got a letter from a woman, and the Rebbe said, she and her husband both born in America. So we're not talking about someone who's coming from the old shtetl, great Hasidic families. American. In Yiddish they say, chocoladnikas. American. They need their chocolate and their oranges in the morning, and
In Israel, they say you have the chocolate.
And she sends me a $5,000 check. What happened? The Rebbe says the story. There's even a tape of it. And the Rebbe says she worked in a school, and they didn't pay her for a long time for her schoolwork. And she left the school, she went to summer roll, but the school still owed her money. Meantime, it was, I guess, growing interest. And 15 years later, after she left the school, she got a payment from the school. We owe you. And it came up to $5,000. So the woman writes to the Rebbe, I thought to myself, I'm working for a living now. It's not like I have much, but my needs are being supported by my work and my husband's work. And suddenly I'm getting a $5,000. Why is Hashem sending me $5,000? I don't know what to do with it. The Rebbe would know what to do with it. I'm giving it to you. I don't need it. With the husband permission. Says the Rebbe, but I got the check. I thought, what am I going to do with it? And I realized, this is what the Rebbe says. There are teachers in school, I guess because the money came for a teaching job. This is how I'm saying. But the Rebbe says there are teachers in school which get post-dated checks. Schools cannot pay their teachers. This is not public schools, this is religious schools. And they are also relying on fundraising or on tuition, which they never get. So they are giving teachers salary, but they're giving them, here's a check, but put it in the bank 3 months from now. So you can't tell me I didn't pay you, but I hope in 3 months from now there's going to be money in the account. So they're getting post-dated checks, but they need the money now. So the Rebbe said, with these $5,000 in honor of my 20 years anniversary since my father's passing, he passed away in 1944 in Kazakhstan, in Almaty, I'm going to establish a Hebrew free loan organization specially designated for teachers who can't redeem their checks. So you are a teacher. You get your $300 check, but it's only for 3 months from now, but I need money now. You go to this loan association, we will give you a loan. Because there's money in the account. And hopefully in 3 months from now, when you can redeem, deposit your check, you give it back to us. That's what the Rebbe did with the $5,000 from this lady, which then I found out that this lady is Rabbi Yarmush from Bellingham, Avrami's grandmother. Oh, blessed memory. There's a story that the Rebbe kept on repeating many times. It's a story about the Tzemach Tzedek. The Tzemach Tzedek was the third Lubavitcher Rebbe. And the Tzemach Tzedek was one morning on his way to Shul. And on his way to Shul, came over to him a Jew. It was the market day. Those days used to be a market day. Not every day. You didn't go to Fred Meyer's and bought your chicken. There was the day that people came in from the different farms. One brought their goats, one brought their calves, one brought their chickens, one brought their fruit. And there was business. So how do you make business? You get a hold on a calf. You pay for it 20 rubles, and hopefully you sell it for 40 rubles, and you came home with 20 rubles. But you need cash to get the first purchase in order to be able to resell, right? So he tells his name. I actually wrote it down over here. The name of the Yid was Mordechai Eliyahu. That's what he says, his name. The Mordechai Eliyahu comes to him, the Rebbe describes him as a simple, God-fearing Jew who makes his money during the market day. And he asked the Tzemach Tzedek, the third Rebbe, for a loan for a few rubles until tonight or tomorrow morning. Because today is the market day. If I can make money, today is the day. So the Tzemach Tzedek tells them, sure, I'm on my way to Shul. After davening, come home to my house and I will see what I can help you. And as he walked into Shul, he realized the Gemara says you should give a coin to a poor person and then pray. Prayer comes after tzedakah. This is not the right thing to do. I got to give him the loan now. So he left shul before davening, but at that point he writes, the market was already full with people. It was very difficult for him to identify between the chicken and the goats and the cows and the animals to find this Mordechai Elia, but he did get a hold of him, and he gave him the gmach. He gave him the loan. What happened was, listen to that. The Basilic writes, his grandfather was Reb Shneur Zalman, the Alter Rebbe. And even though his grandfather passed away, but he had the privilege somehow to have visions of his grandfather, which even helped him resolve issues in Torah, in study, that he had. Visions after his grandfather's passing. It happens to be for a couple of weeks before that story with the loan, he stopped seeing his grandfather. His grandfather didn't appear to him anymore, which bothered him. After the loan, he goes back to shul to try to get into the davening, and lo and behold, again he sees the vision of his grandfather. And in the vision, his grandfather, the Alter Rebbe, tells him, when you give a loan to another Yid with a full heart, all the chambers of heaven open up for you. But there has to be without alternative motives. It has to come from the purity of doing the mitzvah of helping another Jew. Sure, but it's a part of a story. This becomes part of that story, the story of the law. Now, to take it in a little deeper, and again, we are getting ready for Shabbos, so it's good to learn about Chassidus. In Chassidut, there is a big discussion, a big topic, which is a Kabbalistic topic, that all the nature of the Sfirot, the spiritual realms in creation, all work in a system of a giver and a receiver. Chachma gives to Bina, Bina receives from Chachma. Bina gives to Da'at, Da'at receives from Da'at. The light which is called the Sovev Almin gives to the light which is called Memaleh Kol Almin. Memaleh Kol Almin gives to the worlds which are receiving from them. The system of creation, the way God works, it's very important to understand that and to appreciate it. In the Hebrew word for it is mashpia. Mashpia means a provider, a giver, and mekabel, a recipient. That's the way God works with his own emanations, with his own revelations, and this is the way the system of creation was established. Right in the beginning of creation, what happens on the sixth day? Zachar unekeva bar'am vayevarech otam. Male and female were they created, and God gave them the blessing. Right? Male and female. There's the provider and the receiver. That's the nature of creation. So when we are acting kindly to somebody else, this brings about, this is the depth of this insight, but Hasidus talks about the length. This activates the giving and receiving in the higher worlds. In other words, everybody wants that God should give. We need the worlds to exist. We need creation to continue. But God is expecting us to bring about and to arouse in Him the unity and the relationship of a giver and a receiver. So when we are into this loan giving to others, then God also becomes a lender to us to be able to lend others. We become His recipients. Ultimately is we are also on borrowed time, so to speak. There's a term called borrowed time. I don't mean borrowed time. We are borrowers from God, right? He lends us life every day, vitality, our energy. Everything is being lended to us. We got to give it back. How do we give back? By using our life in lending to others. As long as the lending process continues, then he continues to lend us. And there's an amazing concept which is brought in the Zohar HaKadosh, which is like one of those, important things to reflect, but it's like a perspective, but only the Zohar can say it. The Zohar HaKadosh was written by one of the Talmudic sages. And then comes an issue in Jewish law. What happens if somebody took a loan from you? Let's say Reuven borrowed $500 from Shimon. He has to pay it back. That's what a loan is. It's expected to be paid. And what happens is, the time comes, and Shimon is not paying it back. By the way, in Jewish law, there is very, very strict rules how much you can and you cannot bother your lender. Sometimes Jewish law tells you, if you know that the lender doesn't have, you see him walking on the street, you go to the other side of the street, so you shouldn't feel bad walking by you knowing that he didn't pay you back. If he doesn't have, obviously. If he does that, there's also strict law, how much the court goes down to collect that debt without mercy, making sure that the loan is being paid back. A loan is a loan. So what happens is, says the Zohar HaKadosh, the following. Reuven borrowed $500 from Shimon. Shimon doesn't pay back. I'm sorry, Reuven doesn't pay back. Time comes, it doesn't pay back. Goes by a week, goes by 2 weeks, goes by a month, goes by 2 months. I don't get back my loan. Happens to be, they're still friends. They see each other in the synagogue. Comes Reuven to Shimon, to the lender. Says, Shimon, I need a favor from you. Oh, favor. What's no favor? Listen, I am going to travel to Europe now. I have this expensive watch that I'm scared to leave at home, and I'm not taking it to my trip. Would you please watch it for me? Shimon says, I will watch it. Sure, I will watch it. Once the watch is in Shimon's hand, says Shimon to himself, when he comes to ask me the watch back, I'm going to tell him, you think I'm stupid? You owe me money, and somehow you don't plan to give it back to me. Your watch is by me, right? I was watching it for you, but I will continue watching it until I get my loan back. Is it okay for Shimon to say it? After all, he doesn't see a way of getting his money back. And here he has a collateral, a security deposit in his hands made by his borrower. Wouldn't it be nice for me to keep it? What would you say? No, yes, can argue, make a court, make a yeshiva discussion, which is true. But the Zohar says don't do it. Don't keep it. Listen to why. Listen to why. Says the Zohar HaKadosh, you know that every morning you also get a security deposit into your body. What is it called? Neshama. And do you expect at night what happens when you're going to sleep? What happens to that security deposit? You give it back to God. And you expect next morning to get it back. And what happens if next morning God says, I think I will keep the deposit. You owe me certain things that you did not behave yesterday. I decided I'm going to hold it. I don't think I'm ready to give it back to you. What do you call that? What do you call that? When you don't get your deposit back by God, what do you call it? Exactly. You want God to make that calculation? You don't want. So if you don't want him to make that calculation with the deposit you give him, don't make that calculation in regard to the deposit that your borrower gave you. Figure out another way to get your money back. Don't take advantage of the fact that you got the deposit from it. Because if you treat a deposit in that manner, God has a very, very exact way to treat your deposit in the same manner, which no one wants to happen, God forbid. But this is the outlook on loan. It's not only, it's more than what the Orach Chaim HaKadosh says. The Orach Chaim HaKadosh says, very important, this is the first thing, that the money of the needy is also by you. And if you have more in your account, it's because you have, God trusts you with that particular amount of money, which is more than you need because it's somebody else's, and God says, this guy looks like a good guy to keep it. He's gonna do the good things with that. He knows how to use it. This is what the Orach Chaim HaKadosh says, the Alshich says, Chassidus says even more. If you want God to continue providing, to continue lending you, the way the system of creation works is lender and borrower, giver and receiver. As long that we continue lending others, God is continue to lend us. And we need him as a lender. Everybody needs God as a lender. Which is also interesting that it's the only mitzvah, modern tzedakah. When you give tzedakah, so you gave it. The moment of the giving is the so-called the moment that the mitzvah is being counted. Oops, I just did a mitzvah. And hopefully it goes on your balance and you accomplish all the great things which tzedakah accomplishes. When it comes to a loan, since you're expecting the money back, so how long does the mitzvah go? Until you get it back. So if you took a loan for 30 days, so you have an ongoing mitzvah for 30 days. If you took it for 30 months, you have an ongoing mitzvah for 30 months. A 3-year loan, everything keeps on going and recycling as long that the money is in the loan process, because the loan never ended. It's an ongoing mitzvah. It's an ongoing mitzvah. And it's a mitzvah which the Talmud says is at some level greater than tzedakah, because tzedakah is only for the poor. A loan, rich people need loans too. I will never forget one of my favorite conversations that I got one Friday from Mrs. Farkash's grandfather. Yeah, she had a grandfather. I always share stories about him. I know him for 20 years. His name was Mr. Weiss, and he was a big tzedakah and a philanthropist who gave all his money for tzedakah, and he gave a lot of loans to people. His biggest nachas was to see people make it on their own. And not always was he paid back. When he passed away, there was a lot of unpaid debt, which I'm not sure whatever happens, doesn't matter. But he was very involved in making sure that people have an opportunity to stand on their own feet. Very encouraging people and young men and women particularly to start businesses. He came with an idea. Sometimes he pretends that he understands it's a good thing. Sometimes he really believes it's a good thing. Oh, I'm going to give you, let's start it, get to work. Encouraging young men, to start somewhere. It was one Friday afternoon. I'm here in Bellevue. It's a short Friday in the winter, and I'm getting a call from Mrs. Farkash's grandfather, which I didn't get often calls. I call him. He says these words in Yiddish. Mordechai, sometimes Mr. Weiss also needs a loan. He making fun of me, like, Mr. Weiss, the big Mr. Weiss. I said, Heidi, how can I be a help to you? Kind of like, I'm waiting what's next. But that was his opening remarks. Sometimes Mr. Weiss also needs a loan, which I'm sure he needed loans. Most of his business activity during the day was not managing the old age job he was running. It was dealing with the banks. That was his main business. He knew how to deal with them. So he was able to grow his business and so on. Said, I need a loan. What do you mean a loan? Like, I'm going to go try to get money for you. What's going on? He says, no, there is a Jew in Seattle, in the North End community, which he knew some Jews from there because he used to come visit his daughter there. And he called me that he's really in a desperate situation. He needs $5,000 to cover his rent or whatever it is, his bank. but he needs it immediately. But I'm in Los Angeles. It's going to take time till I'm sending him the money. So I need you to lend me money, take a check, get hold of $5,000, and go down to Seattle so you can give him the loan, the money now, and I will pay you back. This is the loan I need. Basically, borrowed money to be able to give tzedakah, which was actually something was later I found out there was a common practice by him. He didn't always have a cash flow. He wasn't sitting on savings. He was an investor in his business. He reinvested and tried to grow his business. But tzedakah shouldn't stop him. In his mind, he believes he's going to be able to pay back, so he borrowed money to be able to give his charitable gift that he was so much committed to. I remember I told him it's a short Friday. The 520 then used to be very trafficky to Seattle. It was before they had this, this $1 million that you pay every day that you go buy it. But what is it called? The carpool lane. It was a 520 all the years. When I drive my kids to Seattle, it was like crazy. Now it's easier, but they pay for it. Anyway, remember David Schneider told me years ago. I said, what's going on? How long is this toll going to be? 3 years, 4 years? And David tells me, he knows from his amount of years, he tells me once it's up, it's never going to go down. So far, he's right. Anyway, so I am, I know it's a short Friday in the traffic. So he says, at least call up Mr. So-and-so, gave me the number, tell him that you have for him the $5,000, and you're going to bring it to him right after Shabbos. But I want before Shabbos, you should know already that the money is by him. That's called the mitzvah of gmilut chesed. That's called the Yid who believes that if he has anything extra, is to be able to help somebody else. To be able to help somebody else. That's called the mitzvah of gmilut chesed. I know I saw a letter the Rabbi writes to somebody. He tells the Rabbi, I have some extra money. I have two options. Should I either write my own Sefer Torah and donate it to the synagogue? The new Sefer Torahs, but I have another one, which is pledged by me with my money that I have, or I should go to Israel and make an investment, support something in Israel. He was a Jew living in America. And the Rebbe said, if you have extra money, you should establish a free loan organization. Take the money and use it to lend money to others who are in need, so they can stand on their own feet and able to care for others. That's called gmilut chasadim, or gmach, in the acronym of gmilut chesed, acts of kindness. This is chesed. So it comes in this week's Parsha, like I said before, the 80th Parsha of the Torah, the Chai Parsha of the Torah, with so many beautiful and amazing commandments, and many of them are civil law, damage, injuries, and so on. But the central theme also in this week's Parsha is this important mitzvah called gmilut chesed. To conclude, the Talmud says, in Tractate Sota, Talmud says that the acts of kindness is so great, kindness in general, that the Torah begins with kindness and concludes with kindness. What is the first story in the Torah that God does after creation? An act of kindness. He offers clothes to Adam and Eve. They realize that they have no clothes, and God comes and makes for them from the fig leaves. He makes them clothes. That's an act of kindness. That's the first story of Genesis. What's the last story of the Torah? Moshe dies, and God makes sure that he buries him. So act of kindness is in the beginning of the Torah, and act of kindness is in the end of the Torah. Says the Rebbe that even, this is what the Talmud says, so the Rebbe adds to it that even our Parsha, it also starts with kindness and ends with kindness. Why? the first discussion of this long 50, what did we say, 54, 53 commandments in this Parsha. What is the first one? That if you have a slave working for you, you can only keep him for 6 years. That's called an act of kindness. You don't keep him forever. 6 years. So the Torah begins with a mitzvah which shows the message of kindness. The last story in this parsha is some more details into the revelation of Sinai. Certain things which were not mentioned last week is mentioned in the end of this week's parsha. And the last story is that Moshe was called back up to the mountain. And there was a cloud there, and God created for Moshe a path to the cloud, so you shouldn't get dirty from smoke of the. You should be respectfully and in a dignified manner able to approach God. It was an act of kindness, making sure that the smoke doesn't bother you. So the Torah begins with kindness. Not only the Torah in general begins and ends with kindness, particularly our Parsha also begins and ends with kindness. People always need, like I said, chesed is the most important thing you can do to somebody else. And it can be in many, many ways. People always need, people have weddings, people have bar mitzvahs, people have school, people have starting businesses. A tremendous opportunity. Sometimes people this month they made less than last month. They need help to pay their bills. And hopefully they will pay you back. Have a good Shabbos. With our act of kindness, Hashem is going to be kind to us too. And give us the ultimate chesed to take a lot of gullus, to bring health and happiness to all his children who need so much of these blessings. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Next week, we are back to Wednesday night schedule. But
for a second one?
A second one? You never paid me the first one. Oh, not personally, I'm joking. Sure, you can ask. You can ask everything you can ask. If the person is able to give you, then they should give you. It's him, if you have.
You won't have to be given collateral or
No, collateral, yes, no interest.
yeah, collateral.
Sure, collateral is
You can
normal.
ask for collateral.
Yes, sure. Yeah, only sure. Shabbat shalom, thank you.
Thank you.
Shabbat shalom, all those who are on Zoom.
Shabbat shalom, Rabbi. Thank you.
You're very welcome. God bless you all. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Okay. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. You want a tea? Make us a tea. There is tea. You don't have to pay back. It's not a loan. It's a gift. Hot water and tea, not a problem. Yes,
So
Danny.
somebody that has a lot, the bezels of the world.
The what?
The bezels of the world.
Okay.
Well, so they should be giving it back somehow, or
100%. 100%. You agree? I agree too. Let's arrange the meeting.
yeah, right. We should let them know. We should.
Thank you, Karen. Good to see you. Keep up the good work.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
Feel good. Hope we'll see you Shabbos in Shul, I hope.
I hope so. Yes.
Mrs. Farkash told me she spoke to you last night. You told her you're going to be in Shul Shabbos, hopefully.
I hope so. Yes.
Feel good. And only my
Thank you.
biggest blessing, I was by the oil this week. Yesterday, 2 days ago, my father was in New York. It was his birthday.
So
I
I
went for-
heard. Yes,
I
how
went for
wonderful.
1 day to New York. I went to the oil, particularly at Asdelev, I even told Rochi. Daron ben Karen, Hashem should give him a refuah shleima. And all is
Thank
in there.
you, Rabbi.
Physically,
Thank you.
emotionally, all the good things.
Thank you. Thank
Keep you in
It's
mind.
needed.
Stay strong. All the best. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank
All
Shabbat
the best.
shalom.
Bye.